All right, welcome back here on SportsLine. We begin our second half hour, and we're going to talk about the Titans, of course, and their draft. I think one of the better drafts in the league, just completed over the weekend, and help us talk about that. He's entering his second season writing for TitansOnline.com, formerly of the Tennessean, and one of my good buddies, Jimmy Wyatt. Jimmy, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great. How you doing, JB?
Man, I'm doing great. Great to have you on. Man, so much buzz about the Titans draft. I don't know if you're a draft grade guy. I can't remember if you gave out grades when you were the beat writer for the Tennessean covering the Titans, but I give the Titans high marks for their draft, and here's why, and let me know if you agree. You know, John Robinson, the GM, has stated all along, hey, we want big, tough, physical, accountable players. We want to play a physical brand of football. You know, we want to let people know when you play the Tennessee Titans, you're going to be hurt the next day, and pretty much almost every guy they drafted, big, tough, physical, mean, nasty guys. It feels like the culture's changing over there at St. Thomas Sports Park. You're there, obviously, every day. What do you see?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that, you know, we've heard so much over the last couple of years about this team doesn't have an identity and what is this team's identity. And I think it's very clear that they're trying to shape this identity of this football team, and it's going to be, just like you said, tough, hard-nosed, physical players, and look at the draft class. You know, Jack Conklin's is a mauler. You know, Derrick Henry is a beast coming out of the backfield. Austin Johnson's a big physical guy. Kevin Johnson's a big pass rushing outside linebacker. And then, you know, you look at Sebastian Titola, the big offensive guard from Arkansas, and all those guys, physical football players, and even in the secondary. I mean, look at guys like Deshaun Sims, physical corner. You know, the receiver, Tajay Sharp's a big guy. I know Byard from MTSU is known for his playmaking ability as well. But all these guys have played a little bit of an edge. That's what they want them to do. I did give grades when I was at the Tennessee, and I always felt funny about doing it because I don't think you can really. It's hard to do. I think you can't really grade these guys until 2 or 3 years from now to see how they played out. You know, how their careers are playing out. But as far as getting the players, I think John Robinson, Mike Mularkey did a great job getting those guys.
No question about it. Jimmy Wyatt of TitansOnline.com joins us here on SportsLine. Always great to have Jimmy's take on it. I like the Conklin pick for a number of reasons, Jimmy. Number one, obviously, you get a road grading right tackle. Most teams are right-handed when it comes to the running game. Obviously, protection for Marcus Mariota. And maybe more importantly, or at least just as important, it puts Taylor Lewan's mind at ease to know that you're staying at left tackle, you're our left tackle, Conklin's going to be our right tackle.
Yeah, and that's what his strength. I mean, they drafted him at 11th overall just a couple of years ago, and it was funny early this offseason around combine time. I think it was just foregone conclusion from the national folks looking in from a national standpoint that they're going to take Larry Tunsil and move Taylor Lewan to right tackle, and that really there wasn't a lot of conversation about that, because Lewan is a left tackle, is where he's familiar with. They don't think for a second he's a lost cause and think he's a great athlete and just needs to settle down and learn what it takes to be a pro from, year in and year out. And I think Lewan now heading into year 3, I think he will settle down. And I think, obviously there's a lot of peer pressure in the NFL locker room, and you see all these new guys come in and you see the veterans come in, and I think everybody kind of gets, with the program. I think the Titans, followed a plan that they kind of set way back in February. They did their due diligence on a lot of guys, but I think the end result, finding a right tackle and leaving Lewan at left tackle is kind of how the team envisioned it at the beginning of this offseason.
I imagine you weren't going to think you were going to get away from doing an interview tonight on SportsLine without me asking you about Derrick Henry. Obviously, that's the buzz going around town. Everybody excited with the former Alabama star coming here. 2,200 yards last year, won the Heisman Trophy, won the national championship. A lot of people are excited about it, but I don't know, Jimmy. I tend to caution a guy that big, that tall. He's going to be susceptible to a lot of hits. And I like the idea of maybe him working alongside DeMarco Murray, sharing carries, and that might add a couple of years onto his career, because I just feel like once he becomes the guy, he's going to take a lot of hits, and his career may be a little bit shorter than a lot of us hope and expect.
Yeah, and he is built to do it, though. I mean, the size, he does. I wrote a story. I talked to Eddie George about him, and Eddie, sees the similarities there. A lot of people have compared him to Eddie. They're both guys. Eddie wasn't a 247. He was closer to 230 when he came into the league. But I like the pick. I mean, I get it. The people who question whether or not they needed another running back. But, I just say this, and I'm not trying to disrespect the other running backs in the roster, but when you look at the back, look at Henry and DeMarco Murray together, and that's a very talented twosome and an intimidating twosome. Would you rather have DeMarco Murray and the Heisman Trophy winner from last year, or would you rather have DeMarco Murray and some other guys who either have not really panned out yet or have gotten chances and have just not been as dominant as I think Henry can be? And I think my answer to that is I think the team's gotten a lot better, by picking Henry. If something should happen to Murray, they've got a big bruiser who can step in and do it. And as you mentioned, I think they're going to use them both together, and I think it's a pretty good tandem. So I like the pick. I do think that, because he's not going to be a guy that's going to come in and Eddie George himself, he thinks he could be a 1,500-yard back in this league. Well, they're not going to necessarily have to have him be that guy because of Murray being there. And I think the Titans will be able to wear some teams down with that running attack, and I think they ought to be able to get the 3rd and 1s. That's for sure.
Yeah, that was a big problem last year, and I like the fact that DeMarco Murray has said all the right things about Henry being drafted. Jimmy, my favorite pick was Kevin Byard. Obviously a guy that we followed out of MTSU. This guy had 19 career interceptions for the Blue Raiders and was really one of the leaders for Rick Stockstill's team. I think this kid has a chance to come in and really be a popular player amongst the fans and really be a contributor to the defense maybe as early as this year. I love the fact that Kevin Byard is a Tennessee Titan.
Yeah, I know we all love his attitude. I mean, you hear him talk, and his conference call after he was picked, one of the more enthusiastic conference calls I've ever heard. I mean, he's just so genuinely excited about not only being in the NFL, but being with the Titans, a team just down the road from him. He grew up a huge Dick LeBeau fan, and he worked hard. He's kind of an underdog. He didn't get invited to the Combine. I remember seeing him at the Senior Bowl, and they have an availability down there at the Senior Bowl where all those guys talk at like a dinner that first night down there. And I remember Kevin Byard sitting at the table all by himself, and there were other guys at podiums and getting attention from the media there, and he certainly wasn't. He was kind of just maybe eating some beach cobbler or something like that. A lot of attention, and here he is. He turns out to be a 3rd round pick, going number 64 in this draft, and went a lot higher than a lot of those guys that were down there who were getting all those interviews. And I'm excited for him. He's a playmaker. 19 interceptions during his college career. He's just got a contagious attitude, I think, just by how fired up he is. I've heard stories about what a hard worker he is. Guys like that make the team better, and I think he's going to make an impact for them on special teams, and I think he's going to help them in the defense, in the near future.
Jimmy, we love having you on, man. Thanks so much for the knowledge. Have a wonderful night. My best to you and your wonderful family.
JB, have a good one. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, the great Jimmy Wyatt, and I do emphasize great. Jimmy Wyatt from TitansOnline.com, kind enough to join us tonight. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to hear a little bit from Marcus Mariota, who spoke today at the Titans Caravan out in Columbia at the Kroger Supermarket, and your phone calls. Stay with us.